See, some people have talked to you about prayer. You've heard people sing about prayer. But I want to talk to you about the power of prayer this morning and the role that the man of God plays in it. Is that all right with you? So I want to take you to the text now. If you will, go to your text. And I want to say, this text is coming from 2 Kings, which is a continuation of 1 Kings. And it is basically a history of the monarch or the king of Israel and God activating, God moving through the history of his people. Now, there were a lot of kings who were disobedient. There had a few kings that did all right. And God used the man of God in the life and the history of his people to try to correct them every time they had went astray. Now, we've approached our text at this point where we're dealing with Elisha. But at the beginning of it, it was the ending of the ministry of Elijah, see if y'all get this, who was a powerful man of God, who was taken up or raptured up. But before he left to go to heaven, the man that was after him laid down a mantle for the next man of God to pick it up to continue his work. And so here was Elisha. He to demonstrate the fact that he had the calling upon his life, there were miracles that followed him. Watch this. First, he divides the river Jordan. 2, he helps out the widow of a prophet who needed oil to continue to live. And the man of God helped out the widow of the prophet. Then he helped out a Shulamite woman and raised her son from the dead. Secondly, he purified a pot of stew that the people might eat. Third, he healed his enemy, Naaman, who was a Syrian, from leprosy and told him to bathe in the Jordan 7 times. Then he came back in the text that's preceding here, and he did a miracle of provision when he lifted up the axe head that had fell in the water so that the sons of the prophet who borrowed the axe head did not have to worry about cutting down the tree to build a new house, but he could return that which he had borrowed. But you said, okay, Reverend, that's Old Testament. I recall Jesus saying in Mark chapter 16, beginning at verse 15, he says, go into the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He who believes and is baptized shall be saved. He who does not believe shall be condemned. He said, these signs, miracles shall follow those who believe. In my name they will cast out demons. They will speak with new tongues. They will pick up serpents. If they drink anything deadly, by no means shall they harm them. They shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. Then the text goes on to say, and the Lord spoke this, and he was taken up into heaven and sat down at the right hand of God the Father. And it says, and they went everywhere and preached, the Lord working with them, accompanied with their word, signs and miracles. So see, even in the New Testament, God says, but the man of God, there's going to be miracles, there's going to be signs, there's going to be healing, there's going to be provision, there's going to be provision for everybody, widows and orphans, there's going to be taking care of children. That's what a man of God is supposed to be about. So now that brings us to this brother Elisha, whose names mean God is salvation. And I want to lift up my first point out of the text. Ready? The first point I want you to get is that through prayer, God allows us to be proactive instead of reactive. Let me say that again. God, through prayer, allows us to be proactive instead of reactive. All right, go with me to verse 8 through 10. And the word says, now the king of Syria was making war against Israel, and he was consulting with his servants, saying, my camp will be in such and such a place. Right there, that tells me, and you need to understand, that the enemy right now is making plans to bring you down. Y'all don't hear me. See, the enemy right now is making plans against you individually. The enemy right now is making plans against you as a church. The enemy right now the enemy is strategic. I'm talking about Satan, but we ain't giving him no glory. I'm talking about the enemy right now has a plan to just try to destroy your marriage. He has a plan right now to destroy your children. He has a plan right now to mess up your job and mess up your promotion. He has a plan, and he's working, and he's getting counsel. He's got people spying on you right now. Y'all don't hear me. Look at verse 9. But while the enemy was working, look what happened. And verse 9, and the man of God sent to the king of Israel, saying, beware that you do not pass this place, for the Syrians are coming down there. So here is God using the man of God to warn the king of Israel so that the king could be proactive because the enemy is beginning to attack him. So you want to have a pastor and a church, and you want to come and get a word so that you could be proactive when the enemy is coming against you. Y'all hearing me this morning? Look. Your church, you said building the saved and saving the unsaved. First of all, if we're going to build the saved, my job as a pastor is to instruct you and give you the strategic plan so that you can build. I can build you up and prepare you for your next level, which is to save the unsaved. But you can't go out there and save them if you don't know what's going on out there in their life. Y'all don't hear me? See, they're out there right now, the unsaved, they're falling by the wayside because the enemy is attacking them. And it's not that they don't want to go to church, they just don't have understanding. And so somebody has to be equipped with a strategy. That's what the man of God does. He is to instruct you and teach you a strategy of evangelism, miracle evangelism, where you can go witness to these people so they too can be saved from the destruction of the enemy. Come on, talk to me now. Are y'all with me? It is the second point I want you to get out of this is this. Through prayer, God frustrates your enemies. He frustrates them. Go with me to verse 11. It says, therefore, the heart of the king of Syria was greatly troubled, or sore vexed by this thing. And he called his servants and said to them, will you not show me which of us is for the king of Israel? And one of his servants said, none, my lord, O king, but Elisha, the prophet who is in Israel, tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedroom. So he said, go and see where he is, that I might send and get him. And it was told him, saying, surely he is in Dothan. You see, what happened now, as the enemy was plotting, God had already instructed the man of God on how to instruct God's people. And so now, when the enemy was trying to set him up in such and such a place, the king of Israel went and checked it out. And he said, okay, the man of God was right. So therefore, the enemy could not attack him. And so now the king of Syria is frustrated. He's angry, like, what is going on here? See, what God will do, hear me, what God will do, God is going to always make you 3 steps ahead of your enemy. And the way he does that is by prayer. See, prayer is not you asking God to be Santa Claus. No. Prayer is not you driving up to an order at Wendy's at a fast food place where you can just walk up, make your order, go up to the second window, go to the first one to pay, go to the second one to pick up your order, and drive on and go on about your business. God does not operate that way. Does that make sense? And so a lot of people are getting frustrated. I know some of you right now, you're frustrated because you've been praying about some things and the prayer hasn't been answered. So you didn't say, well, you know what, maybe this prayer thing don't work. See, you've been going through some things in your relationship and you done prayed to God about that thing, but you like, oh wait, things ain't changing, so maybe this prayer thing don't work. And so now things are getting worse and worse because you couldn't be patient enough and you weren't persevering in your prayer because you didn't understand that God will frustrate your enemies through prayer. So now your enemies are starting to get to you. And so now you and the wife, y'all are starting to argue and fighting over nothing. And then now the kids are like, well, Daddy, what's wrong with Daddy? What's wrong with Mama? What's wrong? They tripping. And so now you walking around just shaking your head. And sometimes you come to church, sometimes you don't. And sometimes when you come to church, your mind is so consumed about what you're going through, you miss what the preacher's trying to say. So I'm trying to tell you, if you want to be able to get your life in order, a family that prays together stays together. And a family that stays together grows together. If I have any biology majors or anyone in biology class, you know that you do not grow without tension. Let me say that again. You will not grow without tension or conflict. So what God is trying to teach you at this season of your life is that you have to be patient. You have to persevere. Are you going to trust in his power or are you trying to rely on your power? So a family that prays together stays together. Why? Because it's through prayer that God will give you information so that you can be proactive and not reactive, and that God begins to frustrate your enemy. See, I know some people are trying to set you up on the job. I know some people in some circles are talking about you. But see what you do? You don't get mad and you don't let them see you sweat. You go into the restroom and take a praise break instead of a smoke break. You see what I'm saying? They go take a smoke break now, but you go take a prayer break. Close yourself up